So guys, Mr. Shehu Sani has come out to warn Nigerians that unseating Tinubu in 2027 is going to be catastrophic. I mean, he said if the North dares unseat Tinubu, deny Tinubu 2027 presidential election victory, that the country is going to be disunified, that this country's unity is going to be jeopardized. So guys, this is coming at a moment when the North has suddenly woke up to realize that in human capital development that they are backward. The North has come out harshly on Tinubu. They are pointing to insecurity and hunger in the land. These were things that Buhari couldn't address, and now they are trying to deny Tinubu, support in 2027 because of the same reasons.
There is evidence of rallying of forces, regrouping of forces, political forces from the North, trying to use the former President Buhari as a rallying point in order to evict the government of Asuwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu. And they hope to resurrect his political charms in the hearts of the masses and portray the government as one that has been undermining the North and one that has not been living up to its campaign promises to the region, being that it has the highest votes from there. And I must warn that attempt to do that can create a serious problem for our country. Buhari has been in power for 8 years, and there has never been any serious southerner who challenged his own government in terms of trying to remove him out of office. And secondly, we should know that before you think of power, you should think of a whole country. We should be thinking of a united country, a peaceful country, not just a fragile nation.
Anyway, you all know I'm not a fan of Tinubu, but like I always say, let the truth be told. Let the truth be told. The North is just waking up. When they supported Boko Haram, when Boko Haram started, Buhari himself came out to say any injury on Boko Haram is going to be injury on the North. Take a look.
Leader in this country said that any attempt to attack and fight insurgency is an attack on the North. So, when you have such huge political considerations, there are difficulties. I mean, Buhari said that in the newspaper. General Buhari said that any attack on Boko Haram is an attack on the North. So what you do as a government, so you want to attack Boko Haram, at the same time, a leader, a respected person in society, somebody who carries, the last vote, the last election, over 12 million people voted for him from the North. A man like that, you cannot ignore him. Now he says that if you continue to attack Boko Haram, you are attacking the North. You must be careful.
This is the same man.
You must be careful.
Just a moment.
So guys, Mr. Shehu Sani has suddenly become a spokesman for Tinubu and his government. He has come out to tell the northern Nigeria that unseating Tinubu in 2027 is going to be catastrophic. That if Tinubu is not given the chance to come back as the president of Nigeria after 2027 election, it is going to be catastrophic. I mean, it is going to disrupt the peace and unity of this country. So it must be Tinubu. Tinubu must come back in 2027 for Nigeria to exist, whether he knows how to lead us or not. Nigerians, I don't know how people boldly come out to say things like this.
The fact that not only the North has been in power from 2015 to 2023, but major organs of government were headed by people from that region, and they have not actually used it for development. So now, to the fact that someone from the South has taken over, there appears to be an organized attempt for them to resurrect their power base and see how they can return to power. So power should be of use to the masses, to the telecoms in the North. Power should address their poverty, should address their insecurities, should address the issues of development, and not power should be used to enrich an insignificant few who simply are parasitic on the economy of the country. This brings the need for the present administration to go ahead with the issue of restructuring, which I believe will be another systemic opportunity for Nigerians.
So guys, you can see that it has gotten to the point where these people believe that it must be Tinubu for Nigeria to exist. They are not even talking of a southerner. They should say the North should allow the South to complete 8 years, and not to tell us that it must be Tinubu in 2027. No, you don't tell us that way. The people should choose. You don't force somebody on us. Shehu Sani is saying that removing Tinubu from office in 2027 is going to be catastrophic. I mean, it's going to affect the peace and unity of Nigeria. And one keeps wondering, should it just be him, whether he knows how to lead or not? Is that what they are telling us?
It's a serious concern, because part of the problem which we are facing in the North today as far as insecurity can be rooted in a history of bad governance, in history of corruption, in history of insensitive leaders, and in history of people who ought to have used power to develop their own part of the country, which they have not been able to do that. So power has not been of use to northern Nigeria for the period which it has lasted.
Well, Senator, there have been some accusations that northern political elites tend to prioritize power retention over regional development. Do you have an opinion on this?
Well, Nigerian northern political class are part of the Nigeria's ruling political elite, but their own peculiar characteristics has to do with the fact that for the fact that the North has been behind in a number of indices of development, there should have been a concerted effort in terms of bringing development to that part of the country. But look at what we are having now. In the last 8 years before the coming of this administration, in 2015 there was so much hope, there was so much belief and faith that the leadership that took over at that time will address these fundamental issues, but it was not. Today, the states in the Northwest are facing serious problems of banditry, kidnapping, and killings by all sorts of violent groups. In the Northeast, the Boko Haram, the ISIS, and other terrorist groups are still holding sway, despite the fact that not only the North has been in power from 2015 to 2023, but major organs of government were headed by people from that region, and they have not actually used it for development. So now, to the fact that someone from the South has taken over, there appears to be an organized attempt for them to resurrect their power base and see how they can return to power. So power should be of use to the masses, to the telecoms in the North. Power should address their poverty, should address their insecurities, should address the issues of development, and not power should be used to enrich an insignificant few who simply are parasitic on the economy of the country. This brings the need for the present administration to go ahead with the issue of restructuring, which I believe will be another systemic opportunity for Nigerians to address their problems of underdevelopment, and for the North to come back home and see what it can do with its resources to address the problem that it is facing for more than a decade or two.
And having said that, because I understand where you're coming from with regards to, creating some sort of political will, but what do you think is really standing between those who have had every opportunity to bring development, education, basic resources to the northern region? What stops them from doing that? Why is the North only important when it comes to using the majority, the huge numbers of the population for elections?
Well, the North by landmass constitute over, to a larger point, 65% or 70% of Nigeria's landmass. And in population, there is no doubt about it, the North is more populous than the southern part of Nigeria. The statistics are there. And all that should have been is that when people from the North has the opportunity to be in power, they should prioritize areas which there should be an intervention. It's not simply appointing Northerners to office, but addressing problems which the North is facing. For example, the issue of agriculture. The North has a very large arable land with water resources everywhere. There was expectation that the previous administration could have invested heavily on agriculture to address the problem. On the matters of security, there was a thought that with Northerners being in power, they should address the problems of insecurity we face as a country. as a region, as a country. Many farmers in our state and in most states in the Northwest have to pay levies and fines to terrorists to access their farms. Over 10 million pupils are out of school because of the activities of bandits and terrorists. And we have seen the destruction of our educational system and rural life, all because of insecurity. That should have been addressed. We should have addressed the issue of Baro Port, which is in Niger State. We should have addressed the issue of Mambila Plateau hydroelectric power, which is supposed to be so. We should have addressed the dredging of Niger. We should address the problems of Lake Chad. These are all issues that all need to have been done. There could have been serious investment on solid minerals. We shouldn't just be waiting every time to feed on a federal system that gives handouts every end of the month. The North can do better. The North is one of the most blessed part of Africa, and it only needs a political vision, a political will for such resources to be used for the development of our people. But it's unfortunate that that has not been done. So to them, power is simply an opportunity for them to preside over, to rule over a people, and also to make their life better, and not for the common people.
Well said, Senator. Now, when you observe the fact that past initiatives to improve literacy rates in the North have fallen short, why do you think that was the case, and what needs to actually change to see results?
Well, for now, I believe that what is needed is for the region itself to key into the policies and programs of this administration, to see how those policies and programs can be used to address the problems that we face. Luckily, the security apparatus are headed to some extent by still Northerners. The National Security Advisor is from the North. The DGSSS is from the North. And there are also Northerners that are placed one or two things. So I think it's an opportunity to give them all the necessary support at this time to address these problems of insecurity, because the North suffers more than any other time. And then we should key into the agricultural agenda of this administration. The Minister of Agriculture and the Minister of States are all Northerners. This is another ample opportunity for the North to harness and use its resources and contribute meaningfully to address the problem of poverty and hunger in the region, and also advance the region forward. The problems of education minister is also a Northerner. It's another issue. We should address the issue of basic education, how we can address the problem of out of school, them back to school, and then encourage wards to bring their children to school. To the best of, and then investment in solid minerals is very important. State government have now been given the go-ahead to do all they can to facilitate the exploitation of mineral resources within their own domain. That should also be used.
All right, to my final question, as of course we just have a few minutes left with you, and it was all about Atiku Abubakar's visit, of course, to President Buhari and to other leaders in the North, and the comments that you made around that visit concerning the 2027 election and all of the discourse that has also been generated around it. What are some of your thoughts about some of the conversations that have been generated since you put out that statement? And do you feel that the APC right now should be focusing on 2027, as it seems there is conversation that preparations seem to be gearing up?
Well, it is a tradition or a culture or a norm or ritual that each time you have a Salah celebration like the Eid, prominent leaders do visit the former presidents of this country. But I must clear the air by making a point here. First of all, is that what will happen if southern politicians decide to also form the idea of uniting themselves and making a position that this is their stand? There will be no Nigeria. So they should, in the interests of the unity of the country and the future of the country, sacrifice their own personal ambition, at least for 2027, and the North will have the moral right to ask for power after the second term of this administration, or even if a southerner has taken over power, even if it's not Tinubu. So that is my own point. that this desperation for power will not augur well for the region and for the unity and collective.
Of late, we've seen them negotiating with bandits instead of trying to stop these bandits, who are mostly not even Nigerians. They come in from the neighboring countries and work in connivance with those of them in Nigeria to achieve their aim. Food insecurity is everywhere now. And do you know what? It is even biting harder on the north, because they can't access their farms. I mean, these bandits, who are mostly northerners, are stopping the northerners, who are mostly farmers, from even accessing their farms. And now, Mr. Shehu Sani has suddenly become a spokesman for the Tinubu's administration, telling the North that unseating Tinubu in 2027 is going to be catastrophic for our unity as a country. I expected him to say, denying the South. I expected him to say, don't deny the South 2027 presidential election victory. Not just Tinubu. Must it be Tinubu? That is the question. Must it be Tinubu? Despite the inflation we have seen that has spiked, we've seen that unemployment is everywhere, hunger is everywhere, insecurity is everywhere, and this government has been busy spending money on themselves. The wife of the president traveled to the UK, to Mozambique and Ethiopia, and spent millions upon millions of naira. We've seen Tinubu trying to buy a new jet. They bought SUVs, took our money, changed it to dollar, and send it to the Japanese country that makes Toyota. All these things, our leaders are not ready to use made in Nigeria cars. Anyway, let's go back to the North. The North is known to have held power the most in Nigeria. Majority of the people in the National Assembly are northerners. They have the highest portion of, call it senators, call it House of Rep. They have a higher number of persons coming from that area. But I tell you, the wealth they've been acquiring has not gone anywhere to even assist or alleviate the poverty in the North. We've seen some of these politicians marrying as young as 11-year-old children, 12-year-old girls, 13-year-old girls, discouraging other girls from going to school or even pursuing their academic dreams. All this is biting on the North, and they've suddenly woken. We've seen Atiku Abubakar, who went to meet Buhari to seek for Buhari's support. You can imagine, to seek for Buhari's support in 2027 so that he can win over Buhari's supporters. Atiku Abubakar just want to become president instead of the North to come together and see what they can do to reduce the level of insecurity in the North, reduce the hunger rate in the North, make life better for their citizens. We've seen most out of school children are located in the North. Even those of them that want to go to school, because of the level of insecurity, they've all abandoned school. And now Shehu Sani is telling us that unseating Tinubu is going to cause a whole lot of catastrophe in Nigeria. It's going to disunify Nigeria. It's going to make Nigeria not to be one. Nigerians, where are we heading to? So it must be Tinubu, whether he knows how to lead or not. It must be Tinubu, whether there is hunger or not in the land. We've seen how this government has thrown this country into dungeon. I mean, this government has dealt with Nigerians. And Shehu Sani is coming out to tell Nigerians that if Tinubu is denied the opportunity to come back in 2027, it's going to cause disunity in this country. Nigerians, I used to think that Shehu Sani speaks for the people, but it appears he has changed his tone. Has he been bought over? That is the question we should be asking. Has Shehu Sani suddenly become a spokesman for Tinubu? What is happening among our patriotic leaders? Those who speak for the people, we've now seen them, turning against the people to speak for this government that has not shown capacity, in helping Nigeria to come out from the mess we have found ourselves. So guys, there are a whole lot of questions we should be asking at the moment. So it must be Tinubu. If it's not Tinubu, there shouldn't be any election. If Tinubu is not coming back in 2027, the presidential election shouldn't hold. That's exactly what they are trying to tell us. If not, tell me what. Nigerians, it has got to that point where the people have to rise. Nigerians, you must rise, because if it's all about agreements, we should just vote in Tinubu in 2027, whether he knows how to lead or not. Then these people are taking Nigerian youths for granted. Honestly, they are taking us for granted. So guys, I don't know what you make of this video, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Thank you.